Harold Peterson was a 74-year-old retired heavy machinery mechanic from Duluth, Minnesota. For nearly 7 years, Harold woke up every single morning, went to the kitchen, and took his prescribed daily dose of Lisinopril. On paper, his medical chart was an absolute work of art. His blood pressure numbers sat perfectly inside the target zone that clinical guidelines demand. His primary physician was completely satisfied, but out here in the real world of daily life, Harold was quietly losing his independence. He was a man who used to spend hours out in his backyard greenhouse, tending to his soil and lifting heavy crates of wood. But lately, things were changing. After just 20 minutes of light weeding in his garden, the entire world would tilt, and he would have to grab the wooden fence post to steady himself. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a deep, heavy exhaustion would pull at his eyelids, forcing him to sleep for hours. When he struggled to walk up the basement stairs without needing to sit down halfway through, he would just lean his head back, sigh, and tell his son, "I guess this is what 90% of growing old feels like." But his son flatly refused to stand by and watch his father disappear into a chair. He knew his dad's work ethic, and he insisted that they get a comprehensive second medical opinion from a specialized geriatric center. When the new care team sat down and cross-referenced Harold's daily habits against his clinical record, they did not discover a new underlying illness. Instead, they focused directly on his morning medication routine. What that team uncovered completely altered how Harold looked at his health, and what happened next is a protective blueprint that every single senior adult and family caregiver watching this channel today needs to hear. My name is James Bennett, and if you or someone you deeply care about takes Amlodipine, Losartan, or Lisinopril, this video is going to fundamentally change the way you look at your blood pressure treatment. Here is a reality that I have come to realize after years of analyzing senior health data and working closely with geriatric wellness frameworks. These three specific medications save lives every single day. That is an absolute fact, and it is not in question. However, the precise way these drugs are prescribed, dosed, and continuously monitored in adults over the age of 65 is often dangerously incomplete. Far too many daily side effects experienced by older adults are immediately dismissed as just a normal part of getting older, when in reality, it is not old age at all. It is your medication speaking to you. Today, we are going to break down 6 critical truths that most patients taking these pills were never told at the pharmacy counter. I need you to stay with me through all 6 of these points, because number 3 is a persistent daily symptom that millions of seniors blame on old age when it is actually a direct chemical reaction to their pill. And number 5 covers a specific blood pressure reading that looks like a perfect victory on your doctor's computer screen, but could actually land you straight in the emergency room. If you are currently taking any blood pressure prescription, or if you are looking after a parent or spouse who does, hit the subscribe button right now. What we are exposing today will completely reframe the exact conversation you have at your very next medical checkup. Before we open up the list, I want to hand you a specific mental framework to hold on to. I call it the dose assumption trap, and it operates on 3 distinct pillars. Pillar number 1, your physician prescribed your standard daily dose based on official clinical guidelines. That is entirely standard. But what most people do not realize is that those clinical guidelines were originally built on studies involving individuals in their 50s and early 60s. They were not designed for a 78-year-old body that processes compounds very differently and might be taking 3 other daily prescriptions. Pillar number 2, The exact dose that forces your blood pressure numbers to look great on a medical chart may be quietly producing daily symptoms that you are falsely attributing to your age. Chronic fatigue, sudden dizziness, brain fog, and severely swollen ankles are not mandatory milestones of growing older. They are often side effects hiding right in front of your eyes. Pillar number 3, controlled blood pressure in your digital records does not automatically mean optimal blood pressure for your actual living body. A number that looks beautiful in an office file might be making your daily quality of life significantly worse. That is the essence of the trap. Your numbers look fine, so everyone assumes the medication is fine, and no one bothers to ask how you actually feel when you wake up. Keep this trap in mind as we step into number 1. Number 1, 3 medications, 3 completely different mechanisms. Let us talk about Robert Morales. Robert is 68 years old, a retired long-haul truck driver from San Antonio, Texas. When his blood pressure readings came back elevated during a routine annual physical, his doctor handed him a slip for amlodipine and told him to take it once a day. Robert asked one basic question: "What exactly does this do?" His doctor gave a very brief reply: "It lowers your blood pressure." And that was the absolute end of the dialogue. Robert went home and took that identical pill every single day for 2 full years without understanding a single thing about how that chemical was interacting with his heart, or why that specific drug was selected for him out of all the options on the market. That lack of clear information almost cost him his health. Here is what Robert was never told, and what you need to know today. These 3 common medications do not work the same way inside your cardiovascular system. Amlodipine belongs to a class called calcium channel blockers. It works by directly relaxing the tiny muscles within the walls of your blood vessels. This allows the vessels to widen, meaning your blood can flow through the system with far less resistance and pressure. Losartan is an angiotensin receptor blocker, which many people refer to as an ARB. It works by physically blocking a specific hormone in your body that tells your blood vessels to tighten and constrict. Lisinopril is an ACE inhibitor. Instead of blocking the hormone at the receptor site like losartan, lisinopril prevents your body from producing the specific enzyme needed to create that constricting hormone in the first place. Why does this specific science matter to you? Because every single one of these drug classes carries a completely unique profile of side effects, dangerous drug interactions, and long-term risks that become heavier and more significant as we cross the age of 65. Knowing exactly which mechanism is inside your body is not a minor detail. It is life-critical health intelligence. So here is your very first actionable step for your next visit. Look your doctor in the eye and ask this exact question: why did you choose this specific class of medication for my body instead of one of the other options? If you do not get a clear, personalized explanation, that is a clear sign that you need to dig deeper. And it is within these specific side effect profiles that daily life can become incredibly uncomfortable, particularly with one very common pill. Number 2, the side effect. Your doctor calls normal that is anything but normal. Linda Hargrove is a 73-year-old former postal worker living in Richmond, Virginia. She had been taking amlodipine for 4 years, and for almost that entire duration, her lower legs and ankles were severely swollen. This was not just a little bit of evening puffiness. Her ankles were swollen to the point where she had to completely stop wearing the normal shoes she had worn her entire adult life. She brought this up to her primary physician during 2 separate checkups. Both times she received the exact same casual answer: That is just a standard side effect of amlodipine. It is completely harmless, so do not worry about it. Linda trusted that authority. She adapted her life around it. She bought wider, oversized shoes. She spent her evenings elevating her legs on pillows. She accepted it as her new reality until one hot afternoon when the fluid retention became so incredibly severe that her daughter panicked and drove her straight to an urgent care clinic. There, the medical team discovered that the chronic swelling had been masking a deeper, progressive circulatory decline that had been left unmonitored for over 12 months. This scenario happens far more often than people realize. Peer-reviewed data published in the Journal of the American Heart Association confirms that amlodipine-related peripheral edema impacts up to 10% of patients, and those statistics climb significantly with higher dosages and advanced age. In a busy clinical setting, this swelling is often brushed aside as a cosmetic annoyance, but if you look at the fluid mechanics of the body, it is far from harmless. Calcium channel blockers like amlodipine are highly effective at dilating your arteries, but they do not dilate your veins at the exact same rate. This structural imbalance increases the pressure inside your tiniest capillaries, forcing fluid to leak out of the bloodstream and pool directly into the surrounding tissues of your lower legs. When you are younger, your lymphatic system and veins can often clear this fluid away. But in an older adult who might already have reduced venous circulation, this creates a dangerous cascade. Severe leg swelling reduces your daily mobility. Reduced mobility leads to weaker leg muscles and further circulatory stagnation. And that physical decline drastically increases your statistical risk of experiencing a dangerous fall inside your home. That is a massive structural threat, not a cosmetic issue. If you are experiencing swollen ankles while taking amlodipine, you do not have to just sit back and live with it. Demand a comprehensive medication review. Clinical alternatives are widely available. Often, a physician can transition a patient to an ARB, optimize the current dose, or safely combine lower doses of two different medication classes, or even implement specialized low-pressure compression routines to completely clear the fluid retention. Never allow anyone to tell you a side effect is normal when it is actively taking away your physical independence. If you or a loved one have dealt with swollen legs on these pills, drop the word swelling in the comment section below so we can track how widespread this issue really is. But amlodipine is not the only culprit. If you are taking Lisinopril, this next truth is going to hit incredibly close to home. Number 3, the cough that will not go away and what it is really telling you. James Whitfield is 69 years old, a retired industrial electrician from Knoxville, Tennessee. Exactly 3 months after his doctor started him on Lisinopril for his blood pressure, James developed a dry, tickling cough. It did not feel like a chest cold, and it did not respond to allergy season. It was a constant, irritating tickle in the very back of his throat that slowly evolved into a hacking cough that simply refused to stop. He went to see a pulmonologist. He was sent for clear chest x-rays. He spent months lying awake at night in absolute terror, convinced that he was dealing with undiagnosed lung cancer. For 8 agonizing months, through multiple consultations, not a single medical professional asked him the most basic question: what daily medications are you currently taking? This is a well-documented medical phenomenon. A CE inhibitor-induced cough affects up to 15% of all patients, and several international population studies indicate that the real-world percentage is even higher. The New England Journal of Medicine has detailed the exact biochemical path behind this issue. When you take an ACE inhibitor like Lisinopril, The drug intentionally blocks an enzyme, but that exact same enzyme is also responsible for breaking down a natural inflammatory substance in your body called bradykinin. When lisinopril stops that enzyme from working, bradykinin begins to abnormally accumulate directly inside your respiratory tract and lungs. This accumulation hypersensitizes your airways, triggering a chronic dry cough reflex that no cough syrup, lozenge, or antibiotic on earth can ever silence. In a senior adult, a chronic cough like this is never just a minor annoyance. It actively shatters your sleep quality night after night, leading to daytime exhaustion. Severe coughing fits cause sudden drops in blood flow to the brain, leading to immediate lightheadedness and fainting spells, which directly cause catastrophic falls. It erodes your daily quality of life in ways that are deeply unfair, often leading people to falsely believe they have developed a chronic respiratory infection. If you have developed a new, unexplained, dry cough after starting an ACE inhibitor like lisinopril, you need to notify your care team immediately. For the vast majority of people, simply transitioning from an ACE inhibitor to an ARB like Losartan completely deactivates the bradykinin buildup and stops the cough entirely within a matter of weeks. This is a completely curable, thoroughly understood medical issue. It is something you should never be told to just tolerate. Now, looking at that transition, Losartan might sound like the perfect, safest alternative. But number 4 introduces a completely silent hazard that patients on Losartan must monitor with extreme precision. Number 4, the silent potassium problem that no one is monitoring. For this specific warning, I am not going to share a single individual patient story. Instead, we need to look at macro hospital data because the collective numbers tell a story that should make every single senior adult sit up and pay attention. Both ARB medications like Losartan and ACE inhibitors like Lisinopril share a powerful biochemical side effect that rarely gets highlighted during a quick 10-minute doctor's office visit. They directly alter how your kidneys manage a critical mineral, potassium. They can cause potassium levels in your bloodstream to climb to abnormally high levels. The clinical term for this dangerous accumulation is hyperkalemia. Data published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases reveals that emergency hospitalizations linked directly to drug-induced hyperkalemia among older adults are not only common, but they are steadily rising year over year. Here is the exact biological mechanism. These heart medications are designed to lower your blood pressure by suppressing a specific hormone called aldosterone. Under normal circumstances, aldosterone acts as a corporate manager for your kidneys, telling them exactly when to flush excess potassium out of the body through your urine. When your medication turns down the aldosterone signal, your kidneys receive less instruction to clear the mineral. As a result, potassium stays trapped inside your bloodstream. Now layer that drug mechanism over the natural realities of human aging. As our bodies grow older, our baseline kidney filtration rate naturally and gradually declines. This means an older pair of kidneys is already less agile at clearing metabolic waste from the blood. Then look at what health-conscious seniors are actively eating every single day. Fresh bananas, raw spinach, baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, and avocados. These are all heavily celebrated as heart-healthy foods, but they are all packed to the absolute brim with potassium. If a senior adult is also using over-the-counter potassium supplements or using commercial low-sodium salt substitutes without checking the label, the concentration of potassium in the blood can cross a dangerous threshold. And here is the absolute most frightening part of hyperkalemia. It is completely silent. It typically presents with zero external symptoms. You do not feel it happening until the electrical voltage of your heart muscle becomes disrupted, triggering a sudden, life-threatening cardiac arrhythmia with absolutely no advance warning. Here is your critical protocol. If your daily regimen includes Losartan, Lisinopril, or any drug within the ARB or ACE inhibitor family, you must have your blood potassium levels and your basic kidney filtration rate checked via routine lab work at a bare minimum of every 6 months. This is not a casual recommendation. It is mandatory safety monitoring that far too many individuals are missing out on. At your very next laboratory review, ask this direct question: what was my exact potassium number on this draw, and how does it compare to 6 months ago? If your team cannot pull up a clear trend line, you have a gap in your fundamental care. If you have been taking one of these two medication classes for over a year and have never had a dedicated metabolic panel to check your potassium, type the word "never down" in the comments. You will be stunned to see how many thousands of people are navigating this exact same blind spot. But this next point is the one that causes me the greatest concern because it involves a number that everyone mistakes for good news. Number 5, the blood pressure number that is actually too low. Dorothy Flanagan is a 76-year-old retired teacher's aide living in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Her blood pressure readings at the local clinic were what her doctor proudly called perfectly controlled. Her chart consistently read 118/70. Every single time she went in for an evaluation, her doctor would look at the monitor, smile warmly, and say, "Your numbers look absolutely spectacular, Dorothy." And Dorothy would smile right back, trusting his word. But back at home, Dorothy was secretly falling down. She fell once on her linoleum kitchen floor. She fell a second time out in her concrete driveway, scraping both of her palms raw as she desperately tried to break her fall. And then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, her daughter walked into the master bathroom and found Dorothy collapsed on the tiles. She had simply stood up from the toilet. The entire room instantly went pitch black, and her body dropped. The emergency room staff immediately diagnosed her with an acute case of orthostatic hypotension. The aggressive blood pressure medication that was being celebrated for protecting her heart on a chart was actually dropping her standing pressure so low that it was placing her bones and her brain at immediate catastrophic risk. The peer-reviewed clinical data on this specific issue is massive and undeniable. Detailed follow-up analyses of the famous SPRINT medical trial, alongside a highly cited study published in JAMA Internal Medicine, conclusively prove that highly intensive blood pressure lowering in adults over the age of 75, specifically forcing that top systolic number below 120, was directly tied to sharp increases in fainting spells, severe falls, acute kidney injury, and dangerous electrolyte imbalances. Because of this real-world data, prominent medical groups like the American Academy of Family Physicians have pushed for much more realistic, relaxed blood pressure targets for older adults, stating that a top systolic number closer to 140 or even 150 is often significantly safer for a senior with multiple health variables. Let us trace the exact physical cascade that happens here, because this is a sequence you need to memorize. Your daily blood pressure pill forces your numbers down aggressively. You are sitting down, reading a book, or sleeping in your bed, and you decide to stand up. Because of the heavy medication in your system, your blood vessels cannot constrict fast enough to fight gravity. Blood instantly pools inside your lower legs. Your brain experiences a sudden sharp drop in oxygenated blood flow. You feel an intense wave of dizziness. Your vision begins to dim. You reach out your hand to grab a countertop to stabilize your body. You miss the edge. You fall hard onto the floor, fracturing your hip joint. Emergency surgery follows immediately. That leads to a prolonged, immobile hospital stay where the risk of secondary infections climbs. That immobility leads to rapid muscle wasting, accelerated cognitive decline, and deep situational depression. An entire chain reaction of physical devastation can be set off by a single number that everyone in the room thought was a reason to celebrate. Here is how you protect yourself. Do not let your blood pressure be checked only when you are sitting perfectly relaxed in a chair. Request your clinical team to check your standing blood pressure at every single office evaluation. Ask for orthostatic vitals. Have an open, completely honest dialogue with your provider about whether your personal blood pressure target is truly aligned with your age, your real-world balance, and your overall mobility history. For your body, a top reading of 135 or 140 might be infinitely safer than forcing it down to 118. The best target number is never the lowest number on the page. It is the number that keeps you upright and safe. Number 6, the Micronutrient Thief Rule. There is another hidden mechanism that almost no mainstream medical channel talks about openly, yet it directly impacts your daily vitality. I call it the Micronutrient Thief Rule. When you take pharmaceutical compounds like Lisinopril or Amlodipine over a long timeline, these chemicals do not just alter your blood flow. They alter your internal chemistry by acting as direct depleters of key vitamins and minerals. For instance, multiple biochemical studies have verified that ACE inhibitors can gradually drain your body's natural reserves of zinc. Zinc is not just a random supplement. It is the fundamental mineral responsible for maintaining your immune defense, repairing cellular walls, and protecting your baseline sense of taste and appetite. When zinc levels drop over months of continuous pill use, older adults often start experiencing a weakened immune response or unexplained muscle weakness, which they immediately mistake for normal physical aging. Similarly, long-term diuretic components or intensive calcium channel combinations can interfere with how your body retains crucial B vitamins, specifically vitamin B12 and folate. When these micronutrients are depleted, your nervous system loses its core insulation. The resulting symptoms are a direct match for classic aging complaints: tingling sensations in the fingers, mild cognitive delays, unsteadiness while stepping over rugs, and that overwhelming deep fatigue that leaves you exhausted by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is often not your internal clock winding down at all. It is a critical nutritional deficiency hiding behind your daily prescription lock. This brings us to the practical solution that ties this entire video together. I want to give you a definitive tool that you can take with you into your very next medical appointment. I want you to write these down, take a screenshot of this section, or print them out on paper. Bring them directly to your doctor. These diagnostic questions have the power to completely transform how your heart health is managed. Question number 1, why exactly am I on this specific medication class instead of an alternative option? You have an absolute right to know why amlodipine was selected over Losartan or why Lisinopril was chosen over an ARB. The response should be tailored directly to your unique medical history, not a generic answer. Question number 2, what is my actual blood pressure reading when I am standing up compared to when I am sitting down? A blood pressure reading taken only while you are seated gives your care team exactly half of the true physiological picture. The missing half could be the one thing that prevents a devastating fall. Question number 3. When were my exact blood potassium levels, zinc tracking, and kidney filtration rates last measured in the lab? If you are taking an ACE inhibitor or an ARB, and your team is not tracking these baseline blood metrics at regular intervals, that is a clear gap in your clinical care that needs to be addressed immediately. Question number 4. Is my current long-term blood pressure target truly appropriate for my age, my daily balance, and my overall physical health? The target that is perfect for a 45-year-old corporate worker is not automatically the right target for a 78-year-old grandmother. This single question opens an essential safety conversation that many practitioners will highly respect you for initiating. Question number 5. Are any of my other daily prescriptions, over-the-counter pills, or herbal supplements quietly interacting with this heart medication? Blood pressure pills do not operate in a vacuum inside your body. Common over-the-counter pain relievers, certain joint supplements, or cold medications can radically amplify or deactivate the performance of your prescription. Any dedicated healthcare provider who takes your longevity seriously will welcome these questions with open arms. They will respect your proactive stance. And if a provider brushes you off or dismisses these specific data-backed concerns, that reaction tells you everything you need to know about whether that specific relationship is truly serving your long-term health. Let us close by returning to Harold Peterson, the retired heavy machinery mechanic who was convinced that his sudden dizzy spells and deep afternoon fatigue were just the inevitable price of getting old. His new geriatric care team did not alter his primary diagnosis. Instead, they carefully optimized his daily dose and seamlessly transitioned his protocol into an alternative class that better suited his advanced age. Within just 3 short weeks, the dangerous spells of lightheadedness out in his backyard greenhouse completely vanished. His heavy afternoon fatigue lifted entirely, allowing him to regain his full momentum. He called his son and told him, "I honestly feel like I just got years of my active life handed straight back to me." Today, Harold's blood pressure remains beautifully managed and protected, but now the static number on the clinical chart and the real, vibrant life he is living out in the world finally match up perfectly. Here is the ultimate lesson I want you to carry with you after this video ends. A blood pressure medication should be taken to help you live a better, higher quality life, not just a numerically longer one. If your daily pill is successfully managing a digit on a computer screen, but it is quietly draining your daily energy, stealing your natural balance, clouding your mental clarity, and destroying your personal confidence, that is not health care. That is a dangerous physical trade-off that you never intentionally agreed to, and you have every single right to question it. The absolute best blood pressure for your body is not the lowest one. It is the one that allows you to truly live your life. If you are currently taking any of these standard blood pressure pills, I want to hear your personal story down in the comments section below. What specific pill is next to your bathroom sink? And has your provider ever sat down to check if the dose is still a safe fit for your age? Share your experience with us. Your words could be the exact validation another viewer needs to read today. And if this data changed the way you look at your daily treatment, share this video with someone you love and hit subscribe so you never miss our upcoming analytical health reviews. My name is James Bennett, and I will see you right here in the very next video.